it's a real conversation amongst ourselves. This shouldn't feel like a podcast. It just feel like we just chopping it up. You already know we did this one time and stuff like that, but we just chopping it up. But snap, bro, we really here. We really doing this. We live. We rocking. That camera's rolling. All our microphones is going. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Deshaun Forrest.
Oh, it's your girl Mariana Jack. I was like, what are we doing?
Alan Woods
In the building. And this is Unrehearsed. I'm your co-host, Deshaun Forrest, artist, producer. Founder of Transparency. You see the merch on us right now. You see it. Sitting in, we got our special guest today, Alan Woods. Alan, introduce yourself to the people.
Alan Woods. I'm Alan Woods. Here from California. Have some businesses. Was in the military. Had a crazy life so far, but excited to be the first guest on this podcast. This is going to be an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Let's hop into it.
Looking forward to it. Yeah. Man. For those that don't know, first off, let me tell y'all what it is about Unrehearsed. Unrehearsed is a podcast, a Transparency LLC podcast. Shout out God. Shout out Mo. Creatively driving this thing. Bringing this thing to existence. Shout out Alan for being our first guest.
Yes.
And episode 2, we didn't even get to episode 5 before we have our first guest in. So it means everything. And the whole purpose with Unrehearsed is one, it's just real life conversations.
Yeah.
It's not meant to be super structured or super formal. It's just young people, early mid 20s, just sharing their perspective on things in this crazy world that we live in.
Yeah.
We have our heads on straight. We're trying to do good work. We're trying to impact the world. Some of us keep God first. Others just really want to live a great life and impact the world and just be a good person to other people. And so sometimes we don't move like others. So we need to create a space where we can kind of vent because it get lonely out here. You know what I'm talking about? So today, in this episode, we talking about the characteristics for success.
So what is success? Let's talk about it. What's success? What does that mean? Because obviously we just hear so many different things depending on who we're listening to, who we're giving our ear to. So for you, Alan Woods, for example, what is success to you? What does that mean?
Yeah, I think it's a very open-ended idea because everybody, like you said, they have their own idea of what success is in life. For some people it's money. For some people it's relationship success. For some people it's having, lots of amazing experiences. There's very many different meanings of what success could be to any individual person.
Yeah.
For me personally, it's first and foremost being the best man that I could be in every aspect, from the spiritual to the financial to having the right habits in place.
Yeah.
And just being able to look myself in the mirror every night and know that I'm putting my absolute best foot forward in every aspect of my life.
Yeah.
That's kind of the foundation of success for me. It's more of an internal thing, more so than what the external results are.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
But beyond that, the external results are important, even if I'm doing everything perfectly, if life is just in a complete state of disarray, I'm not going to be happy with that long term. So it's also about the financial abundance, having great relationships in my life, having love, connections, deep friendships, being healthy mentally, physically. It's a very widely encompassing thing, success in my view. But yeah, that's kind of my high level view of what
Thank you for
success
sharing.
is.
I like that you didn't talk about just what it looks like, because I think a lot of us get stuck on that, and it's if you don't look like this, then you're not successful.
Heck yeah, bro. I hate social media.
yeah.
Hate social
media is a big one.
Yeah, it's especially them posts where it's you ain't waking up at 5 a.m. every single day.
Yeah.
It's
you a failure.
It's
right.
That's right. So much more to it. But that's good. If you wish, it's up to you, because you said that you said that you have some businesses up and running. For those that don't know, for one, let me just say this real quick. If y'all been keeping up with the content, with all of the films and music videos I drop, then you're familiar with my dog Allen. You know what I'm saying? Just to show off his, his credentials. He was in Walk Away. I believe that was the most recent one he was in.
Yeah.
And he was in the very first one. He was in Whole Nother, the very first music video I ever did. Allen was there. It's been my dog since 8th grade. It's like, bro, it's like 10 years now. Bro.
Don't say that, man.
Oh,
Oh my goodness.
You know what I'm saying? So this is a brother for real. And so if you want to, whatever you feel led to share with us, like, some of the business, some of the things that you do, how you grind for your success.
Yeah. So my first business I started when I was 14 years old.
Wow.
That's impressive.
Wow.
Yeah, it was funny because I was trying to get like a job at my church. They have like this restaurant that they own. And my sister and my brother, they both worked there, and they was like getting all their money, buying their clothes, whatever they wanted. They was chilling. They had money. And I wanted that. So I tried to get a job there too, and I went through like the entire process of like interviewing, dressing up, everything. And I aced it. I was killing it.
Come on.
And come to the end of the process, they asked me the question, "Oh, how old are you?" I'm like, "I'm 14 years old," and they're like, "That's a little too young."
What?
So after that entire like summer break after freshman year, I was just like looking up online, like how to make money online, how to make money as a teenager, just trying to do something so I could have like some more freedom from financial constraints and whatnot. And I eventually found this video where this guy was like talking about making $7,000 a month from like writing books.
Wow.
And I was like, I love to write. I don't know what I'm gonna write about, but I have 3 months this summer to do nothing else. I'm gonna write some books.
Wow.
So that was like my first business, just sitting down, writing books all day long. And that was like all throughout high school. And it did pretty well.
What kind of books were you writing?
That's a good.
Was it just like fairy tale stuff, or were you super just like calculated and just like, here's how you make money?
It was
Writing books.
So
like how to, right?
yeah, so it started out like as more of I didn't have any direction at first. I would just like write whatever I thought was fun and whatnot. But as a business person, you reach a point where you realize that it's better to find out what the market is looking for, and then to produce that rather than just making stuff willy-nilly with no focus and no idea, no direction.
Yeah.
So I started doing research into like what was actually selling, and most of the books that were selling were like these how-to guides, like gaming guides and instant pot cookbooks and just all this random stuff that I had no knowledge of.
Okay.
I got the knowledge. I wrote these books and I made it happen.
Yeah, you're like, that's YouTube University's cousin, everybody.
That's good, bro. That's good, bro.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so that was like my first business, and I did that until I was 19 years old.
You did that for a minute.
Yeah, that was a while.
Yeah.
Did pretty well.
Okay.
And then from that, I went to the military for a while. Did some crazy stuff in the military. Got kicked out of the military. Went to jail. Went bankrupt. A lot of craziness.
Okay.
Through that process, I kind of started to like figure out that I needed to get my life together, because going from making like over $100,000 before you're 18 to then sitting in jail and being kicked out of the military and going bankrupt, you have a lot of time to just sit in your cell and be like, something is not working. I messed up somewhere along the path. This is not cool. So kind of reworked my life after that experience. And now I have like a marketing agency and a YouTube business as well, and a couple other things that I have my hands in. But yes, it's a couple of different things I'm working on right now. But just marketing is my main thing, and YouTube is my secondary thing as of right now.
Okay, so is your YouTube, are you still doing how-tos, or how has that changed?
So with the YouTube, it's very different from my book business that I had in the past. Books for me, it was like strictly, not completely for financial reasons, but that was like the main driving force behind it.
Okay.
with my YouTube channel / business, although there's obviously financial reasons for it as well,
Yeah.
I look at it as more of a mission for me.
Okay.
I see deeper meaning behind it. And my idea when I first made the channel was that when I was 16, 17 years old, if I could have talked to myself now and just gave myself some of the knowledge that I have now from all the craziness that I went through, if I could pass that along to my younger self, I could literally cut years off of that process and just cut out so much stress and pain and heartache and depression and I could have just picked myself up and just dropped me off like close to the finish line. Yeah. And my mission with the channel is just to kind of provide some of that knowledge that I've learned along the way to people who are, earlier on in their process, and to maybe help some people out through that journey.
So you giving back with that YouTube channel.
That's the goal.
And we're gonna have to get that link and drop that link in, because I checked out quite a bit of them videos, and it's like, it's real stuff. I noticed is you have it more catered towards the fellas, right? Or is
yeah. It's definitely it's definitely more catered towards the fellas, just because although a lot of the ideas they're very they're evergreen and they can be applied to both men and women.
Yeah.
I can only personally speak to the issues that I endured as a man. I've never been a woman in my life.
Yeah.
I never will be.
Yeah, I think
so. I think it's most authentic for me to speak directly to the crowd who I most align with.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
that makes perfect sense, bro.
That's amazing.
And it's real good content, because you be dropping like some real truth bombs on there and stuff. I was watching some videos and I was like, sheesh, bro, he probably talking to me right now. I'll make sure I'm straight, get my act together. But that's good. That's good, bro. I mean, we had transparency of me. One, just as a brother, I wish you nothing but success, because I mean, you my dog, and then obviously us at Transparency wish you nothing but success, because you've helped us out as we're like building from the ground up. But one of the reasons why I personally wanted to do this Characteristics of Success episode is, as you all know, I'm grinding for my own successes. And I've learned a lot of things. I feel like I'm in, or have been in, the stage where it's like, because it's one thing where it's like, yeah, this is the idea, and then you actually execute it, and actually you really see and learn what it takes to get it going. Like, for example, like with basketball, all the kids want to shoot like Steph Curry. They want to shoot like Steph Curry because it's like the best, and it's like stuff he's doing no one else has ever done before, but they're not necessarily considering all the hours that they put in, so they just go and start jacking up shots. You know what I mean? But they missing.
Yeah, terrible. Like, missing bad.
They missing bad. They airing it. They going into the stands. They hitting the light fixtures well. And so it's like, I wanted us to talk about not only characteristics of success, but the common misconceptions of it. You know what I mean? Because it's like, it's a lot of misconceptions, because oftentimes what we see is people at the top. We don't see the grind that they put in beforehand. We just see them once they've made it to the top. Yeah. And so we got to talk about the misconceptions.
Can I add?
Heck yeah.
Okay, because as soon as you said that, the one thing that I thought about was how in society in general, a lot of times we're taught that either people have success or they don't. We're never taught that it's actually something that you could aspire to do, if you're at the bottom. And I just feel so it's if your parents were successful, then you're going to be successful. And if your parents weren't successful, then you're most likely not going to reach your goals, And that sucks, but that's the reality of what I feel that society can teach us, or just the social construct that we live in.
Yeah, that, and it's my biggest thing, I think the biggest thing, misconception that I've had to unlearn is, or just thing I've took notice of is they don't really peep, if you ain't really on this entrepreneurial path or path of your own like that, they don't really peep the work that goes into this. I mean, I started Transparency about 2 years ago. Yeah, a little over 2 years ago. And just the amount of work, especially with this recent year of 2022, everything that we've put in, and still be like still feeling like we're at the bottom and stuff like that. It's a lot of work, like it's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of like sleepless nights and stuff, and it's a lot of grinds. I feel like a lot of people, it's like they see where they could go and they want to go and they have that little initial spark of motivation, but then they get hit with that reality check, like, yeah, it's a lot of work, bro, and it's a lot more work than what you thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's a lot of early disappointments early on, and then you see people just kind of like drop off, or they'll like rethink their goals and probably settle for less and kind of things, and they don't really know how hard it is, because it's like, me personally, I'm fixated on what I know I could get to, and it's like getting to that point, and then you run into all these different obstacles. You know, we was talking about it last night. We was hanging out talking about how it's like, dang, like feeling like we rush time a little bit, try to get to where we want to go.
Yeah.
Let's expedite this. Let's speed this up a little bit. And I just feel like that's a common misconception. It's like everyone wants to, in my case, rap or make music, but no one really wants to go outside of that. Not often, at least, to go outside of that and really work to build up their brand, because in my case, it's more than just music. It's building up a brand. It's diversifying, creating a podcast, creating a merch, creating the films with Brandon, who's currently behind the camera. Shout out to Brandon.
Shout out to Brandon.
You know what I'm saying? None of this is possible without Brandon.
Without you.
You know what I'm saying?
No.
Got to plug everybody. And so, like, you know, I just feel like people don't really quite understand that, especially if they're not on their own path of their own and stuff like that. And so, but one thing I really like, though, me personally, is like if you sticking to it, because I'm big on discipline and consistency. If you sticking to it, dog, the amount of like lessons and the character development, bro, it's like I'm like far from the same dude I was 2+ years ago before I started this. And it's like if you really want, I feel like if you really want to go somewhere, whatever it is, it's going to, just the journey along the way, it'll force you to get right. Because if you don't get right, you ain't never going to get there. And you know it's all on you. Ain't no one to blame for your failures. And it's like no one's going to feel bad for your failures. But yet on the flip side is everyone's going to benefit from your success.
Yep. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so that's my biggest thing. It's like, oh, wow. The amount of work that gets put into this is out of this world. It's beyond, for me, it's beyond just making a track and putting it out there and cranking a music video. It's like the marketing dollars and the campaign, and then the creative ideas, the podcasting, and all of those kind of things, bro. It's a lot, bro.
And it's interesting because everybody, when they start out on a path, they have like these grand dreams and visions.
Yeah.
And like you said, as soon as we get started on that, we see how far the distance is between what we want versus what the actual results are right now. So we start to get discouraged.
Yeah.
And people, I mean, almost all of us, we have like this short-term mindset of thinking that we just deserve the results right now, when like
Damn.
you haven't done you haven't we haven't done enough at the beginning to deserve those results that we want. Like it takes time, it takes effort, it takes consistency. And I think that like social media nowadays has really kind of skewed people's perspective on what the timeline for success, quote unquote, should be. Everyone thinks it should be very quick. It should be now. And we also all think that everybody around us is more successful than they are. Everybody's more happy than they are, because all we see on social media is these highlight reels of their best moments. None of the bad, none of the long nights of grinding in the studio,
right.
None of the long nights writing them books, none of the struggles, you don't see none of that. Right. Absolutely none of it. So it's so easy to get caught in this false loop, this false narrative where your version of reality is completely detached from what reality actually is.
Right.
That expectation versus reality, it's a killer, but it'll make you act right. It'll make you act right. That expectations versus reality, you get hit with that reality check, and it's like, oh, it's gonna take a little bit more time than I would like.
A lot more time than
A lot more time, bro.
Yeah, it's a process for sure.
But yeah, any misconceptions for you, Mo?
I think the biggest one is just like failure. Like people who are successful, they never fail. I think that's like a really big one because I feel that just going back to what you were saying, Alan, just how people have these highlight reels and things like that. So it just always puts it in everyone's mind like, oh, that was like an overnight process. But it's like, just think of how many times like they cried and they were like, look, like, I don't know if I can go on anymore. Like, I don't know if I'm supposed to still be doing this. Like, I need direction. Or just even like, I think about the big thing is relationships. Like, one, a lot of times we think that we have to grind on our own, and that's like not true. I feel like relationships are so important, but it's just who we have like that's close to us. There's that saying where it's like, oh, the 5 people that are closest to you, those are the 5 people that you're most like the ones that you talk to the most. And so I just think about how important relationships are as well, because like I've had friends, and this is just facts, like where they're straight up dream killers, and I'm like, I can't hang out with you anymore because I'm just like, oh yeah, like I'm gonna do this, and they're like, you really think you could do that? And I'm like, who are you? Like, get away from me. But it's true, like it's just big facts, like, or just and it could even be so subtle. And I think that's the other thing too, like some people won't straight up be like, oh, like I don't think that you could do it, but they're just like, like I don't know. And I'm just like, yeah, okay, you gotta go if you don't know, because like I need you to be on the same page as me. I need you to like like want me to be successful, want me to thrive, and things like that. And so I feel like the failure and then the relationships is a very big thing, especially the relationships, because there's a lot of people who desire success, and even just mentors where they're like, oh, I've done it that way, like it doesn't work, and I'm like, maybe it didn't work for you, but like I'm not you, I'm a whole different story, and so
That's huge. That's a bar. She said you gotta go if you don't know. Boy, I almost wrote that down. I almost wrote that down. She said, oh, that's a bar.
That's powerful.
But that's huge. And you also said it too. I almost interjected. I had to hold myself, but you said about they don't know about all of like the nights where you're like, bro, I don't know, like crying stuff. Let me tell you, this is coming from someone who's at the bottom. I'm gonna look at both cameras when I say this. This is coming from someone who's currently at the bottom trying to grind to get to the top. Them nights where you're like, bro, I don't know, while everybody is sleeping, you only one up. It happens a lot more than anyone else to tell you. I'll keep it. It happens a lot more. I'll make sure I say it loud and clear. It happens a lot more. At least for me, I can only speak for myself. It happens a lot more than anyone else will ever really tell you. You know what I'm saying? It's because it's like, bro, it's like I can't tell you. It's so weird. I'm really trying to figure this out. I promise you. I can't tell you how many times people will DM me or meet me in person. I had a homie. I can't even call him a homie because I never met him. Just the Brody in general. He was a fan of my music. I never knew him. I never met him before. He recognized me, and he was like, bro, I really love what you do. And at first, I'm like, because I'm so used to everyone who keeps up with me, like they actually know who I am, people I've actually met. So I was actually kind of shocked. I was like, he know me, I don't know him. And stuff. But I can't tell you how many times I've had people either DM me or they'll come up to me in person. And they'll tell me, or they'll comment on a post, and they'll tell me how what I've done, the little I've done so far, has impacted them and even drove them to tears. And I'm sitting in my room like, dang, bro, this ain't working. What am I gonna do? It's crazy. It's a hard road to walk, and it's like most of the time you ain't really got it figured out. You just kind of go along the way. I'm going along the way as I know right now. Like, this podcast is us going along the way now.
And that's why I love the name and the vision transparency. Like, I love everything about it, because
talk about it. Come on.
When people go through this process, we all have these very jaded views of like what we want versus what actually is. And nobody really has people to look to who are being honest about what the process actually looks like as you're going through it. Like, no, everybody is so loud about their successes and all the wins and all the greatness, but nobody talks about those long nights when you're just crying in bed like, yo, what is really going on? Like, what am I doing? Is this worth it? Who am I? What is my life about? Like, nobody talks about that. Nobody talks about that.
It's typical for people, like, they get to the top and then they'll talk about like their journey.
Yes.
And it don't
Yes.
hit the same because it hits, but it don't hit the same because they
Yeah.
already made it.
Yes.
You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
Now it's like, here we
Yeah.
are at the bottom. I'm young, I'm 23. We're all mid to early 20s. Yeah, like I was saying, it's like a lot of people, most people typically they'll share their story after they've already made it to the top, whatever that looks like for them.
Right.
And it's like, this is what I be thinking about when I'm at home. This is another reason for like the podcast, like for me personally, it's like, where are the ones telling the story as it's happening?
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like everyone gets the documentary after they already got the Grammy.
Man, talk about
You
it.
know what I mean?
Yes.
They get the documentary after they already made it, after they've had some success, after they had a dope run. Then that's when they start sharing their story, and after their success has already happened. What about those that's grinding right now, telling this as it's happening?
Yeah,
like,
still not sure about the future. Don't know what's gonna happen next.
Still
you
not
you
sure.
living it with them.
I'm in the moment. This is like literally happening right now. I can't tell you how many times it's like, because I overthink on a lot of things. It doesn't matter if it's good or bad. It's just how my mind actually works. I'm thinking about, dang, how much money would I have if I if I never started? Like, how much, what would I've been doing? How much more, social fun would I've been able to have if I didn't just stay in my room, work on beats or record or yada, yada, yada. I'll think about them things like, oh, dang, like, I would have been a little bit more stress-free if da-da-da-da-da. But it's like, it's just a part of the journey. It's part of the process. No one really talks about that part as much. I'm going to talk about it because it's a mess. It's just a mess, and it's part of it.
You said you would probably be more stress-free. I disagree.
Talk about it.
Okay.
Because as much as like all the money and all that would make, like, objectively speaking, it would make your life, quote unquote, better. There's no way to escape the feeling deep down inside when you know that that you want something in your life, and that you are just completely ignoring that and not doing anything to work towards it. Like, that deep sense of unease is impossible to escape from.
Yes.
So even if it might be an objectively better life if you had done those different things, like you would feel that. Like, you wouldn't be happy with yourself.
Yeah, that's facts. Because it's like, I've even just on this path, like, I've noticed it, like, just like some ideas that I've wanted to happen, and I tried to make it happen, and then for some reason, like, it didn't work. And it's like, okay, maybe another time, or maybe it's just not gonna work. And then I just try to ignore it, and it never works out. It's like, I gotta go and do it. I'm not gonna like I'm not gonna get some sort of rest or just closure of the idea if I don't ever try.
Right.
And so, you're right. I feel what you're saying. It's like, that's one of the driving things for me just with this. It's like, because, fun fact about me, I wrote my first song at like 13, but I didn't actually put out music until I was 18. So it took me a whole 5 years to finally come to the decision, like, okay, I'm actually trying to do this, right? But the thing that really scared me straight was like, I was like 18. I just turned 18. We just graduated. There was that last summer of fun, that last careless summer. And so towards the end of that, starting with at LMC at the community college out here, it was like, okay, if 20, 30 years go by, like, I can't let that much time go by and look back and like regret. Because I know, like, ain't no one gonna feel sorry for me.
Right.
And it's like, you had the time.
Right.
Everyone gets some sort of amount of time to do something. And I was like, okay, now I gotta do it. I gotta do it, at least try and see.
Yeah.
I ain't really look back, honestly. That's how you know it's like something you're supposed to do. Like, bro, I used to write songs. I'd get some lines in class. I used to write songs all freshman and sophomore year, like every other day. I was cranking out songs. I had like 200. I used to keep track of them too. I had like 250 plus songs on my old iPhone.
Wow.
Ended up deleting them all because they was whack.
Bruh.
But I used to write every day and still was like, yo, this is dope. I don't think I actually really do it though. We try to figure out something else because I was always really book smart. And so everyone was like, oh, doctor, lawyer, engineer, some kind of like.
Why is it always those three?
I don't know.
It's never anything
I
else.
don't
Doctor,
know.
lawyer.
Something that just pays real well, some corporate type job. And
Yeah.
I was like, yeah, technically they right. I could go that route, but it's just like, I need fulfillment.
Yes.
That's why I'm doing it.
Yeah.
I need fulfillment.
My
bro.
soul
Yes.
got to feel right.
I gotta be at peace when I sleep, and so having a job and getting the money is cool. You know, I'm making an okay amount of money right now, but the entire time I'm there at the office, I'm like, around 4:30, I'm finna head back to the crib, and I'm going. I gotta work on this beat. I gotta write the song. I gotta record. But yeah, man, can't have those regrets for me.
Absolutely not.
Can't do it.
I think that society and jobs in the 9-to-5 route and just the general mindset of society has a very strong gravitational pull.
Yeah.
And it's very, very difficult to escape it.
Yes.
And it can be very tough to like make that initial step away from like whatever you think is the traditional path to then step onto whatever you think your path is.
Yeah. That's terrifying.
Yeah, it's very scary.
Yeah.
But what's more scary to me is like what comes at the end of following that traditional path.
Right. I think that's why a lot of people like it, because they're like, I know the results. Like, I know what's gonna, I have a great retirement. Da, da, da.
But is it really great?
Oh,
Like-
this is hurting.
Like
On
is
the
it-
inside,
like is it really
the
great?
fulfillment
Like,
goes back to the fulfillment. Yeah.
Like, are you truly happy with what you're doing? Like,
Right.
if you are, and some people are,
Yeah.
some people are completely content with that. And if so,
perfect.
all the power to them. But if you know deep inside that you're not happy with that, then it is a disservice to yourself and to the world to not put your complete effort into doing something more. Like, we all have something inside of us that should be released to the world, and to just keep that contained inside of yourself is
It's harder to contain than it is to let it go. I promise you, I tried. I tried. It's harder to contain, bro.
Yeah. I remember my grandma, God bless her soul, before she passed, I was like 16, 17 at the time. And her entire life, she was working hard, steadfast for this company, putting in crazy hours, working her butt off to provide for herself, to take care of like some of the family and everything. And she turned 65, retired, lived her life for like a few months, and then she caught cancer. And like a few months later, she passed away. And for me, watching her go to work so many hours every day, coming home, being like in a negative, just down mood, and repeating that year after year after year on end, and then finally getting to the finish line, the promised land, retirement,
Yeah.
and then dying.
Life.
That was like the most bleak existential reminder that path, I like, there's not really any promise at the end, and it really made me rethink like my entire approach to life, and that's kind of what set me off on like my decision to stray away from that more traditional path.
At the end, you got to do what it is that you truly want to do.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's crazy. I've been real blessed to like just with my upbringing, because it's like, I guess it's just like the mindset that God has gave me. But I watch, and like I'm really impacted by story. I guess that kind of makes sense why I have like a lot of storytelling content, because I'm really impacted. That's the thing that gets me the most. It's like, yeah, I can study this book and learn it, and I can be impacted by this book, but what's your story? Like, what's your character
Yes.
development?
Come on, let's talk
That
about
really hits me the most. And I've heard a lot of people like different ages, some even close to our age, some people that you and I both know, like say like, dang, yo, I wish I would have did things like this, or like how you're doing, or I should have, instead of being at this age that instead of when I was like your age doing this, I should have been doing this, da 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 da. And so it's like, it caused me to like really like think like, okay, what is it that I really want to do? Is this really worth it? Okay, it's worth it. Okay, now I gotta like go for it and like not take my foot off the gas, because it's like, I've known people who had their foot on the gas and took it off. I've known people who never had the courage to put their foot on the gas in the first place. You know what I mean? And so it's like, and then here I am, it's like, okay, foot's on the gas, and everyone notices, yo, his foot's on the gas. You know, he's actually serious about this. You know, let me encourage him and stuff like that. And it's like, bruh, like, I've known people that, like, in music industries that came up around Pac's time, actually met Pac, was making music at the time, and for whatever reason, they, you know, whether they got caught up in, like, street lifestyle or just got caught up in whatever, ended up taking their foot off the gas for various reasons. And they're pretty much like, whatever you do, don't you take your foot off the gas.
Yeah.
Like, you don't ever want to take your foot off the gas. It's like, yeah, I mean, I was thinking about what you said, because it's like, ain't nobody in my family ever thought I was gonna rap. Like, I come from a musically gifted family. A lot of us are musicians. A lot of us, especially if the females can sing, and some rap, but it's mainly like you a musician or you a singer type of joint. I was a late bloomer musically and stuff, and like I said, I was always really good in like school and stuff, so they thinking, oh, he gonna be like some kind of, my nickname coming up was Professor, no joke.
What?
Professor
joke.
Xavier.
I know, literally, I was like, what
Wait.
is this?
My nickname was one of my family names, my little childhood names coming up was Professor, because I was always really good in school. And so when I was like, yeah, I'm finna make this little SoundCloud mixtape, you know, everyone was like, okay, cool, but ain't nobody really saw it coming. They ain't really think I was gonna be this serious about it either and stuff.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, I just had to like do what I felt like God put on my heart and just really go after it and stuff. And now it's like, oh snap, the potential is there. And I gotta really like capitalize on it and stuff.
Yeah. Can you two talk about mindset?
Mindset.
Because you said it, and I was like, I meant to say something, then you're like, mindset, and I was like, that's what I wanted to talk about. Like, people's mindset, or let's say that I'm somebody that, where it's hard for me to change that mindset. Like, it's hard for me I know in my heart that I don't want to take the traditional route, but it's just hard for me to fix my mind on, okay, we're not taking the traditional route, we're going to be an entrepreneur. But I guess it's just, so how would you encourage somebody to change their mindset? Because mindset is hard.
Yeah, I got a quick question before we actually start answering. And you ain't got to tell the truth, I guess.
Oh, I can lie? Okay.
Or not lie, but
Like,
like
Transparency. Come on, man.
cut that part out. But like, I meant to say, like, if you don't really want to answer it, yeah, that's really what I meant to say. But it's like, is this a question about you? Like, is this advice that we're giving going to you?
Oh, that's
or
so
just,
good. Yes, give me advice.
Okay, cool.
That was
'Cause
beautiful.
The reason why I asked, because when you was asking the question, it just felt like this was actually coming from you.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
It is,
But
yeah.
You want to take it first?
Yeah, please.
Yeah, I'll go first. I've obviously been through, you know, some craziness in my life.
Yeah.
And in all the dark moments, I used to like have a very like positive mindset when it came to like, oh, stay motivated, stay disciplined, blah, blah, blah. After dealing with all like just getting slapped around by life constantly, I was like, no, we gotta switch this up. And now I look at just my mindset in a much more, some people would say it's toxic, but
Okay.
I'm much more demanding of myself.
Okay.
Because I know who I am. I know what I can accomplish and what I can do. And I also know that when I was on that traditional path, I wasn't happy. So for someone who was on that traditional path, I would tell them to look deep within themselves. Take a moment of silence. Put away your phone, put away all the distractions, go out into nature, just sit down with yourself and just think about whether you're truly happy with where you are at in life. And if you will be happy with that same path in 5 years, in 10 years, in 20 years, in 50 years, will you be happy on that same path?
Yeah.
And again, be completely, brutally honest with yourself, because if you're not honest, your life will not change. You're gonna be on that same trajectory for the next 20, 40, 50 years. And if you will be happy, then there's no need to change. But if you know that you're not gonna be happy, then you have an obligation to change. Like, it would be wrong to your future self not to do something different.
Wow.
And then once you kind of have that idea in your mind, I think that at that point it's a matter of not just like grinding hard, but also finding the right vehicle and the right roadmap. Because people talk so much about grind. Oh, I'm the hardest worker in the room. Like, oh, that's cool, and it does help to some degree. But you also you can't be.
You gotta have directions.
If you are trying to light something on fire, but it's covered in water, it's not gonna light. Like it's gonna stay wet. Nothing's gonna happen. You have to have the right vehicle. You have to be applying your effort to the right area. And so you need to figure out what results you want to attain, whether that's, if it's financial success, whether it's success as a musician, figure out exactly what you want to achieve, and then find people who have already achieved success in that area, and then just replicate that process. Because people, again, like when I say people, I'm talking about myself as well, because I've done this so many times in the past. We are on this lonely path of entrepreneurship, and it seems very, very like no one else in the world has ever been through what we're going through. Like it seems like a very lonely path. But if we are honest, there are billions of people in this world, and to think that you are the only person who has ever dealt with your problems and who has ever pursued your path, that's the most idiotic, silly thing in the world. We are not special. Like,
my grandma lied. Just kidding.
So find someone who has achieved what you want to achieve and replicate that. Like, follow their roadmap, and then at that point, that's when you put in the work. But you have to have the right roadmap in place first and foremost, because if you're just applying effort to the wrong areas, you can waste years of your life on something that's not going to produce anything for you. And that's when you get the real heartache, because now you've abandoned the traditional path, so you have no results in that regard, but you also don't have any success in your path because you didn't put in the planning, the effort ahead of time to make sure that your actuals was sharp. So that's kind of my advice for someone who needs help in that regard.
My answer to that, piggybacking off of his roadmap thing, is like, find whoever it may be. You may not actually know them personally, but whoever it may be that has had success in the same outlet that you want to have success in, take notes of their roadmap, but also adding to what he said, also keep an open mind, because all of our paths are different. That's important. So what I would say first is like, okay, you came to the conclusion that you want to get on this entrepreneurial path and like have your own success and not do things traditionally. So those boxes are checked. I would say, I'm kind of about to like say what he said, but word it differently. But because you said how to get in that mindset. And so that's tough, because
I guess it's just because I'm just like being transparent, because we're really talking about me, like I'm being for real. But I guess it's just like hard, because I'm like, okay, I have the vision, but then I'm just like,
how to do it.
It just seems so like, okay, this is the mindset, like this is the vision, but I'm just like, I have no idea what any of this is supposed to look like. So I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Like,
you just gotta take that. You don't know. You're not gonna know what the first step is. You never will. You just gotta see what's directly in front of you and take that. Take whatever that step is. It might not make sense. You're gonna figure it out along the way, though. You know. And until you actually take that first step, you don't have any possibility to ever figure out
everything else.
So
it's like you want to start small. Like, for example, we went running. Remember when we went running? It was me. So you've heard me talk about it. I'll run the hills and stuff. And the way this particular trail is structured, it's like you start off on level ground, then it gets, it inclines gradually, and then you start getting crazy and you go way up, and it's like high peaks, low valleys, higher peaks, lower valleys type of thing before you actually start to go down the hill, then it's downhill level ground again. And so you start off on like one side of the parking lot, and when you finish, so like you start off on the parking lot like right here, but when you finish, you come out on the other side of the parking lot right there. And so it's the thing, how I would train my mind to do it, because everything is really just mental, is instead of thinking about, dang, I gotta run all the way up there and around and ain't nobody gonna see me, and then I gotta come around on the other side of the parking lot. Start with that first incline. If I get past the gradual incline, got my heart rate pumping, I'm sweating, I'm in the mood, I'm warmed up, gotta focus on the next incline. Beat that incline, Cool. There's gonna be a little bit of level ground before we hit the next incline. This incline is gonna be steeper. It's gonna be harder.
Yeah.
And so start with the first thing. Start small and start with the first thing that's in front of you. Like, for example, I knew I had to get into music. I knew it was something that just tugged on my heart for years to do. Instead of thinking, oh, I gotta do the podcast, I gotta do merch, I gotta do all of that kind of stuff. That didn't come till later down the road. This is a fairly recent idea, this podcast. First thing was, okay, I've never made music before. I'm a brand new musician at my church. Let me just see if I can make a small tape, 6 songs. 6 songs is a good number. I wasn't shooting for 12, 15, full-length project. Just 6 songs that I think, to me, notice to me, sounds good enough to be released. It's on SoundCloud, something light and simple. And once I made that tape, put it out there, I was like, okay, I did it. So I set a small goal, and I achieved it. It was just a confidence booster. I wasn't really tripping. I knew it was going to show my amateurism. You can ask Ryan. I said, bro, I just dropped this tape. I know it's going to show like how I ain't never done this before. Yeah. But I just wanted to see if I could do it and make something that I actually think is cool for the meantime. 2 months after that, I'm like, yo, this tape is trash.
But then the dots start to connect. You start to see what's next after you put in that initial work.
After you do that one first thing, it's like, okay, I did this tape. Now I know I could do it. Now let me see if I can do it better, like make better music. And so 8 months after dropping that tape, I dropped the first full-length tape, which was twice as long, and the music was better. I was like, okay, I got to get better at writing. I looked at the first tape, it's like, okay, my writing sucks. I need to because I'm a very wordy writer, like it's too many words. So often, like even when I'm recording now, it's like I'll start recording, I'm like, dang, there's a lot of words, and I start cutting lyrics out mid-recording session. And so it's like, okay, I got to get better at the writing. That's what Ryan said. And then I was like, me and my older brother is like, yo, beats got to get better. I was like, okay, writing, beats, let me really focus on that. So I focused on that, and my thing was like, I'm gonna go around telling folk I rap. I don't want to show people that tape and be like, this is all I got to show for it. So I really grinded and put that one out. So it's literally starting small and working your way up. Like if you're climbing upstairs, you're not thinking about that 12th step up there. Right. You got all the other 11 leading up to it.
Right.
So whatever it is for you, bringing it back to you, think about, okay, this is your vision, whatever it is. Okay, now scale it back. In the meantime, it's okay, what is the first thing that I can work on doing? And just starting with that. For me, it was just writing songs. I was working at Jack in the Box. I bought my equipment as I went, bought my microphone and stuff. First song I ever made, he heard.
Yep. I heard you send it to me over email.
And this song has never came out.
Yeah. Well, I wonder why. I wonder why.
I ain't gonna say the name, but but the very first song he heard. And just start with the first thing that feels like you can do. Do it to the best of your abilities. And then be like, okay, once you do it and you actually achieve it, it's like, okay, pat yourself on the back. It's very important to pat yourself on the back after you achieve something that you didn't really think you could do, because that's a confidence booster. Everything is mental. Once you know you can do something, you know you can do it again and do it better. Like the first time I ran that huge long trail, and it's like 4 or 5 miles long, including those inclines, I have past injuries from car accidents, so exercising hurts more than it did before. But the first time I ran it, non-stop, it was just me, and it was just all mental. Like, I'm gonna do this by myself, I can do it. First time I ran it, I broke it down into check marks. It's like, okay, got through this incline. There's a certain bench once you get to the top. I knew when I got to the bench, that was like the halfway point. Everything else after that is downhill and level ground. So if I can run up the inclines, then I know I can run downhill, because gravity is just gonna take me. Right. So once I ran that entire thing, I was pumped. I was like, let's go. I must have ran it like 7 or 8 times by now. It don't even impact my body like it used to anymore, because I got used to it. So start small, just the little simplest of things. Build it on up. Every time you achieve a little goal, pat yourself on the back. Always applaud the small victories. And next you know, it will continue to grow and grow. And your mental will grow. Your creative ideas will grow. Next you know, you won't even be able, like 6 months from now, if you continuously doing it, you won't even be able to think like how you thought in month one.
That's good.
You know what I mean? And so, for the sake of time, we got to cut this short. We done ran at least 20 minutes over time. We might have to turn around and do a part 2 because it's a real like life conversation that builds character, and as we all want to achieve something of some sort. And it's good to have those conversations as it's happening instead of waiting till you get to the mountaintop. And so it's been your boy Deshaun Forrest.
Oriana Jack.
Alan Woods.
You know what I'm saying? Special guest Alan Woods. You know what I'm saying? And this is an episode of Unrehearsed. We really shot this podcast. Hit the links in the description to follow me, follow Mo, follow Alan on all our social medias, follow all of the YouTube channels, and yeah, we'll have all of those good details and links to websites and descriptions, YouTube videos and content. All of that will be in the description. Check that out. Support it. Like, share, subscribe with someone that you love. And if you know someone who is on a grind of some sort, whatever it is, who may be impacted by what they could hear in this podcast episode, do not hesitate to share it with them.
Yeah.
And if you've been impacted, let us know. This is what we're doing it for. We're doing it for the people. We out.